Hello, Connection Groups. I'm hoping that you're enjoying as we begin the study in Galatians. As I mentioned last week, we're really trying to put a thread all through the book of Galatians, and it's the thread of grace. I think if you left grace out, it could become a very harsh, defense of the truth document or how it makes an impact on our heart. But I think grace gives it a different perspective. And last week we talked about grace recall, when they had walked away from the grace that God had given to them. This week, Galatians chapter 1, verses 10 through 24, as we close out the rest of Galatians chapter 1, it's actually a story of grace revealed. First to Paul, as we see in verses 15 and 16, and he talks about the Damascus Road experience. But then that also applies to us. Once His grace is revealed, though, what had happens then, it redirects our journey. He was going in one direction, and the moment grace appeared, he had to go another direction. And my prayer is that as we open up this very challenging part of Galatians, that you will see that whenever God does show us grace, and there is a revelation of Himself and revealing who we are, then there will be a transformation that will take place. But the verse that we'll come back to at the end of the message is actually around in verse 10. I don't start with this, I close with this because I think it's the most challenging and convicting, and it calls us to action. It says, "For am I now seeking the favor of men or of God? Or am I striving to please men? If I were trying to please men, then I would not be a bondservant of God." And so Paul actually gives you a choice. You're going to have to make it. You can't be one without exclusively away from the other. You can't serve two masters. So either you're a pleaser of men or you're a servant of God. I'm going to close with this application. Again, once that revelation takes place, it does redirect your journey. But that revelation also reveals your heart, whether you're a servant of Christ and God or whether you're a pleaser of men. So in verse 15, I think to me was the most moving verse for me this week. When it says, after Paul goes through and talks about, hey, I am advancing in Judaism, and I am a persecutor of the church. But then it says, but when God, and that's when he talks about the revelation of God, and it turned everything around. I'm going to call this but when God moments. I want you to think of a time that you had a but when God moment. There's quite a few in my life where it really changed everything. At the age of 15, Galatians 2:20, but when God revealed Himself to me that I needed to be crucified with Christ, it changed the entire direction where He called me to preach. Coming to Singapore, but when God moment, when Sasha actually asked me a simple question. She said, if you're willing to send missionaries all over the world from Houston, Texas, are you not willing yourself to go? But when God. But I think sometimes but when God moments also show up in very small, everyday, like when somebody comes across your path and all of a sudden, but when God revealed, be kind to them. Or somebody, God puts a name on your heart to text or to call, but when God revealed that to you. Or when you're just praying and a verse comes to comfort you and encourage you, but when God. There's a lot about when God moments. I want to encourage you to explore those. And finally, close with a prayer. The prayer is, Lord, reveal yourself to me in a way that I can understand and that I know it can be you and only you. Have a good week, Connection Groups.